Harold, it has been an eon, it feels like. So, how's it getting better? I'm happy to be here between a mirror and a plant, and well, a gorgeous view over there in the breeze, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I just wanted to come out and say hello. It's been interesting a while, and haven't been around as much as I usually would do, but or I used to usually do. And so that's actually what I would like to speak about today. I was doing some meet and greet and exploring some things on one of Simone Milis's one of her calls um, a few days ago, and had the joy of sharing some nuggets from this particular book, which is called "Right Riches for You" by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. It's an Access Consciousness book, and one of the amazing snippets that stuck out at me, we were going through a class called Big Business Energy, is one of the classes that I do with Simone. And in this particular case, we were speaking about generating your life specifically. If you have this book, this is the old iteration of it. It's got a prettier cover now. But this is Gary Douglas speaking about generating his life. And he said, he's had the car, he's had the house, he's had everything, lost it, had it, come again, and recognized that everything was a choice I had made. And I thought, okay, so what am I going to do now? I had no clue what I wanted. I knew what my wife wanted. I knew what my children wanted. And I knew what my friends wanted. And I put all of that aside and asked myself, what do I want? So, this is my invitation for you today. And it's my invitation for myself as well. Most of us are so psychically attuned to what everybody else would like, or to what everybody else finds acceptable or normal or um, doable or whatever. But there is no actually looking into what is it that we know. So we have these amazing psychic capacities with everybody and their mama around the world. Where are we in all of that? And so this invitation from the book to start looking at what is it that we want? What is it that we are aware of? What is it that we uniquely know that nobody else knows, or nobody else desires, or nobody else would even imagine is possible? And start looking for that. So I love it, this. It may be a bit too long of a snippet to read, I don't know, but I love this section. So he said, I put everything aside and asked myself, what do I want? The problem for most of us is that we are psychic beyond our wildest dreams. Even those of us who say we are not freaking aware at all, we're aware. We just don't think we're aware, but we're aware. And so we're picking up on all of this chatter from everyone else around the world, all of this directive from everyone else around the world. And we're not actually allowing any sort of peace or quiet or tranquility to be able to be aware of, okay, this is me and this is a point of view. This is me and this is what this person would like. This is me and this is what that person would like of me. So we forget and we get lost in the process. So the problem for most of us is that we are psychic beyond our wildest dreams, and we always know what everybody else requires and desires as their life. The difficulty comes when we misidentify and misapply what they require and desire, and believe that must be what we require and desire as well. Asking questions is the best way around this. So, okay, we're going to play with that. We're going to play with asking questions. Access consciousness is all about asking questions. Even though when I showed up in Access in 2011, which is, a little more than yesterday, I always wanted everyone to give me what is the correct answer. Give me the play by play. Give me the linear construct. Tell me, okay, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you'll be okay. If you do this or do that, you'll fix or take care of whatever quote unquote problem or challenge or difficulty I would think I had. But that was my thinking. it wasn't actually tapping into what I know. And what I love so much about access consciousness is the invitation to know that you know and to know what you know. And the truth will always make you feel lighter. It will feel more expansive. It will feel more spacious. And it's like, oh, almost like a little sigh. Even if it's something that isn't necessarily pleasant, being aware of what's true will give you the sense of relief, sometimes even bring a smile to your lips. So, asking questions. What is it that we're asking for? In this case, and I'm just going to bring this up because this was Gary's experience, but then I'd like to tap in and look at where it is that we're choosing from. So he answered when he asked himself, what would I like my life to look like? I answered, well, I'd like to travel at least 2 weeks out of every month. I'd like to make at least $100,000 a year. I'd like to work with interesting people. I'd like to do something that would actually change the world. I'd like to do something that never bored me. I'd like to continuously expand some part of my life and everybody else's. That was a sum total of what he came up with as the answer to what he wanted to create as his life, according to him. He got the energy of the or the feeling of what it would be like to have all those things as his life. So he says, I put that energy out in front of myself and I pulled energy into it from all over the universe. First, he got clear. Then he invited the universe, the energy of everything around him. He was tapping into the psychic capacities with the universe rather than picking up on everybody else's crazy that's going on in their world or their limitations or whatever it is that, you know, people on two legs. And, you know, as Susanna Mittermeier says, she wrote Tools to Get Crazy Happy as Pragmatic Psychology. I loved her description of heads on legs. Well, most heads on legs don't realize that they're heads on legs, and they don't realize just how aware they are, but they keep repeating, and then we end up with people in the same loop as us. So he put that energy in front and then pulled energy into it from all over the universe, and then let little trickles of that energy go out to all the people who were looking for him and didn't even know it yet. And he did this, and get this, he did this every 3 days so that he could continuously be aware of what that energy felt like. Now, I love that he did that very regularly, something that most of us don't do. Most of us tend to choose once and then think that it's on autopilot for the rest of our life. We have tools. We know tools. A lot of us watching this might be access consciousness junkies as well. You know, where we love these tools and read the books and everything, but we keep chasing our tails in many ways. All of us, whether with exercise or with access or with anything else, we aren't in the space of being with it. We're not being the question, we're doing a question. It becomes this rather interesting dynamic where we think we know stuff. Oh, I know that tool. Oh, I got this. Oh, I'm good with this particular thing or the other. Or I know what I want. I know what's appropriate. But do we know what's appropriate? Do we know what's appropriate for us? Sure, we know what's appropriate for everybody else. We've already talked about the psychic capacities that we have. But do we actually truly notice what it is that we would like and what it is that would work for us? And are we willing to prioritize ourselves by choosing to do this regularly, to be aware regularly of what that energy feels like, what it looks like, and to have and be more of that? Are we? So in his case, he noticed any opportunity that came into his life that felt like that energy because he would remind himself, you know, it was fresh. He would keep going back to it. He would keep asking. He would recognize the energy, vibe with that energy, surrounded himself with that. He was resonating that energy, and that was going out in the universe. And then anything that felt like that energy, he says he would do it, whether it made sense to me or not. Okay, that's how access consciousness began. And and I love this. I'm not going to get into reading all of it. This is the Write Riches for You book. You're welcome to get your own copy. But I love this. Your energy, your space, and your consciousness of knowing what you want will lead you to what you are looking for. Okay. It goes beyond your mind, which only works within the limited construct of matter, energy, space, and time. And this is the way you can know what to choose in your life without trying to figure out the next step. You bypass the limited answers that your mind provides and you allow the universe to let you know what the next step is. It's a totally different way of generating your life. So he looked at those elements that he wanted and he started asking. And I love this. He says, consider for a moment what it would be like if there were no limitations. Okay? Consider what it would be like, as Simone Milasas, who's one of my favorite people on this planet, says, what would you choose if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you choose if you knew that you were limitless? What would you choose if you knew you could have or be or choose anything? What would you choose? Regardless of if anyone says that's not appropriate or that's impossible or you can't do that or that's not allowed or that's too much, fuck that. If you could have or be anything, what would you choose? What would you choose to create? What would you choose to enjoy? What would you choose to relish? Do you even know? And what came up for me today as we were having a bars exchange here earlier, when you're choosing, where do you choose from? It's fascinating to me that I perceived so much, and we were listening to Simone Melissa's the Prophet Club call that she gifted to the entire world. Her January 9th call, you can find it on her channel, her YouTube channel. I'll post a link in one of the comments underneath this, wherever you're watching it, because I absolutely loved it. We listened to it twice today in English and in Spanish. And I got so much how we lose the freshness of choosing from this automated pilot of, oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I'm trying to maintain some sort of structure, some sort of reference point, some sort of familiarity. So, are we willing to truly choose beyond that and look into not what everything else that we've learned, like what other people would like or what we think is appropriate, but actually choose what we know to be true for us, what we would like to be fascinating for us, what we enjoy? Human beings have this tendency to go for pleasure or pain. Some mix both. I had childbirth, when I gave birth at my parents' place to my daughter, there was pain and there was pleasure. It was just a really unique experience. But most of us on this planet tend to choose not for the joy of being and the joy of choosing and the leaning towards possibilities. We're looking to cover some sort of pain point, to fix a quote unquote problem, as sometimes we speak about it in excess like that. So are you choosing to deal with problems or are you choosing towards possibilities? That's why the class that comes after the foundation class in Access Consciousness is called Choice for Possibilities. Choice for possibilities. When we're looking towards possibilities, it is very different than fixing a problem. So why don't you have a look in your life when, like what Gary was looking at, what would he like in his life, like what we were seeing in this book? Same thing with you guys, with me. What if we begin to look at what it is that we would like to have in our lives and genuinely look, are we choosing this because it makes us smile and be happy and be lit up and turned on and just, wow, wouldn't this be awesome? Or are we choosing because that's right, good, perfect, appropriate, correct, normal, the way everybody says that things should be in order to quote unquote fix what we think a problem is? So are you choosing against problems or are you choosing for possibilities? It is a very different energy. And when you're willing to actually lower barriers and get present and look, and then you can begin to see, oh, Okay, so this is what's going on over here. So, what would I truly like? What would make me giggle and enjoy and be turned on? What would I like if I knew, as he was asking, if there were no limitations, or as Simone asks, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you choose? Like, what would you choose? Would you just stay with what everybody has said is right, good, perfect, and correct? Would you stay with what everybody says, oh, yeah, you've got to handle this problem and that problem and the other problem? Or are you going to truly look at where is it that I'm choosing from? Am I choosing from pain, to avoid it, to resist it, to eliminate it in some way, shape, or form? Or am I choosing for a possibility? And that's the invitation of access for me, is to begin to look at where are you functioning from and what is it that you'd like to choose. And most of us, even in access, have been in very much this point of view creates our reality of I've got a problem, I've got to patch it somehow, or I've got to fix it, I've got to deal with this. Well, what if you didn't? What if by not paying it so much heed, you begin to choose towards what fills your life with joy? Money follows joy. Joy creates possibilities. Joy in anything and everything that you do. If you're enthused, if you're turned on, then everything becomes this joyful, amazing play. But you've got to begin exploring. And I'm saying you to you, I'm saying you to myself, looking at myself as well, as I've been so freaking good. The last 4 years, I've been choosing a lot for what my husband requires or what my parents require, for what my kids too, but mostly for what other people require, because I sure as heck know what they desire. What do you know beyond that? What else is available to you? And if you're really willing to be so honest with yourself about what does work for you, what doesn't work for you, where it is that you're choosing from, are you trying to avoid something? We've got in the clearing statement of access consciousness, we've got what point of view are you avoiding or defending, right? And those are phenomenal questions. Who or what are you defending for or against that if you didn't defend for or against it would give you all of you? Well, what are you avoiding or defending or fighting to maintain? A lot of it is normalcy. So, would you be willing to let that go? Would you be willing to melt the normalcy that you've been striving to be up to now? Everything that is, will you destroy and then create it all? Clearing statement, you can head to the clearingstatement.com and you've got it there. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So, how much of our life do we base on problem solving, on pain avoiding, rather than leaning into pleasure, leaning into clarity with what does turn me on? Now, you could talk physically, you could talk, energetically, you could talk about anything. What fills your life with pleasure and with joy? And where are you not allowing yourself to have that? So, if you would be willing to live a life of pleasure, to live a life of possibilities, to look for what is um, delighting you, literally, um, how amazingly courageous would that be? Truly, like one of the bravest things that you could be is joyful in this world that tries to make you quote unquote realistic or to have your feet, on the ground. Well, what do you know that's beyond that? And what could you begin to ask for? Just ask for. Just sit down with a glass of wine and a notes app, or better yet, even old school, like in a notebook. You can even get yourself some colorful crayons or whatever and decorate it. But what will put a smile on your face? Start to ask, start to notice, and start to look for where have you been trying to do things quote unquote right, and where has that rightness literally bound you and you've become enslaved to maintaining that. So what else is possible beyond rightness, where the magic and the miracle and the ease and the joy of you lives? And what would be possible if you'd be willing to embrace and literally live as the mantra of access, all of life comes to us with ease and joy and glory. It's not all of life comes the way that everybody says it has to come for it to be ease and joy and glory. It's you actually allowing yourself, being willing to look into what does bring me joy and what could I choose that would bring me more ease and what glorious adventures could I have and be on. So I love this. This is for those of you guys who joined us after. It's the old cover for the Right Riches for You book, and I love the questions. If there were no limitations, if I could choose anything, what would I choose as my life? If matter, energy, space, and time were not the criteria for my choice, what would I like to make as my life? So if there were no limitations on time or money or ability or anything else, and if you could choose literally anything, Harold and the Purple Crayon like, you could choose anything and everything. What would you choose as your life? What would you love to do? What would you love to create? What would you love to, what would inspire you? What would you literally hop out of bed in the morning going, "Yes, it's another day"? If you're not living that way, where have you forgotten to live your life as a celebration? And every time I'm asking a question inside, I'm pock and potting it. That's short speak for the clearing statement. Let me actually just, oh, I don't have it written out, but you can go to theclearingstatement.com on there. So it's super easy, but there's a link to that as well beneath in the what do you call it? In the description of the video, wherever you're seeing it, because I wanted to have it there. But it's so interesting how often we forget to tap into what it is that we know, what it is that would light us up. What kind of people would we like to hang out with? What kind of friends would we like to surround ourselves by? In the Prophet Club recording that I was just listening to, I'm a member of the Prophet Club. I fucking love the Prophet Club. I have to say that I joined Simone Milisis's membership, original membership in December of 2020. She had one called Just Start, and it was like 45 bucks a month, and we had a couple of calls with her, and it was fucking awesome. And I stayed a member throughout all its iterations until it ended in 2023 sometime in the fall, and I wanted another one. And sure enough, she began another membership in April of 2024, and I've been part of it ever since. It's called the Prophet Club, and it's amazing. And she did do a free call for everyone at the beginning of January this year, and it's phenomenal. It is one of those calls that you got to listen to a few times for it to start really going in there, and you begin to notice. Notice she mentioned, kind of as a throwaway statement, who are you surrounding yourself with? People who are actually enjoying their life and living, people who are great at living, at enjoying life, at the joy of being. Are you surrounding yourself with people who are struggling all the time or suffering or depressed or frustrated? Now, I'm not saying spit on everyone and walk away. I'm saying look at what you surround yourself with. And that's what I love about, you know, I have weekly reference materials calls because I love the reference materials of Access Consciousness. I read books like on the regular. I'll pick it up. I may not read the entire thing through. I am a little ADD, OCD. I will pick it up, open, read a section, pick it up, open, read a section. And I do that constantly because that gives me that vibe. But what I hadn't been willing to do is really sit down and get clear with me. And that's where I was like, okay, I got to look. Where am I choosing from? Am I choosing towards pleasure or am I choosing to avoid pain? And I noticed that for the last 4 fucking years of my life, I've been choosing to avoid pain. And that's not me. That's not the joyful, exuberant, enthusiastic person that I've always imagined myself to be or have known myself to be previously. I forgot, you know? So everywhere we've forgotten, would you be willing to let that go? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100 shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So if there were no limitations, and if you can choose the pleasure and the joy of being that you truly be, what would that be like? Anything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And there was a clearing that she used in that amazing Prophet Club call that I absolutely loved, and it is what energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, possibilities, power, potency, and profitability can you and your body be that would allow you to be the realms of creation and the realms of possibility for all eternity with ease, with joy, and with glory. And everything that is and everything that brings up times a godzillion, or you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, creations, and beyonds. All did I say all nine or all 100? All 100. So all the 100 stories that we've been using and everybody's stories that we've tapped into, that we've picked up on, because we are far more psychic and far more aware than we've ever imagined. And when we're willing to recognize that those are stories and are not necessarily us, we have a different choice. So what if all of life could come to us with ease and joy and glory, and we begin to look for the pleasure and the joy that being us is. So thank you, and I will see you later. It's going to be chaotic. I'm going to start showing up a lot more frequently because this is fun for me, but it is chaotic, not on schedule, and I'm going to step back into facilitating a little more fun in my life. And if you'd like to join me for the ride, you are so fucking welcome to. I'd love to have you on board. Bye. And thank you.